Hello and welcome to the Mike Guarneri podcast. This is episode 24. So, how are you all doing on this nice Friday? Got to be honest, for me it was a pretty rough day. A lot going on, feeling of overwhelm. My puppy ate part of a headset. Fortunately, it's still usable, just a little mangled. It's just been one of those days. And as bad as today was, the good thing was I didn't go crazy. I did not have an anxiety breakdown. I handled it, and that's the part of the battle to good mental health, is having the tools and the willingness to handle it. I mean, a few years ago, a day like today, I would have been freaking out. I would have been spinning with the what ifs. Well, what if this? What if that? What if I don't get this done in time? And then because I don't get it in time, something else happens. And what if? What if? I did not go down the what if spiral. I was not sitting in my chair rocking back and forth. I wasn't bouncing my leg at 200 beats per minute. All the thing I didn't get myself so riled up to be in physical distress to affect me physically. It was anxiety, it was unpleasant, but I used tools to bring it down a few notches, to lower it. I'm very proud of myself because I handled it. And yeah, I have my anxiety medicine and my talk therapy, but today pushed past that. So I kind of attribute being able to handle today over any other day to my spiritual practices for mental health. I don't do all the Celtic practices that I've been giving you. I just do a couple. I do them regularly. Now I'm looking into other things and into the occult side and ancient strange things. So I really believe the work I'm doing is going to help people get that supplemental thing on a day where their meds and their talk therapy just isn't enough. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because that's been my day. I mean, right now, where I am at 7 p.m., I expected to have this podcast done this morning, and shit just keeps happening. It's uncontrollable. So, I'm happy that I handled today, and hopefully it's almost over, and I can close it out in a nice way. So, back to business. Well, the first thing I want to mention before I get into today is, I don't know if you want to call it lecture, sermon, or whatever, is there's some cool things coming down the pike for you, done by me. And you may or may not know, last May 2023, I released an ebook called 10 Celtic Practices to Level Up Your Mind and Relieve Anxiety and Depression. Well, let's just say that's not the end of the story. I'm going to leave it at that, but stay tuned. Please go to MikeGuarneri.com and sign up for my email list so you don't miss anything. And I'll also put a link to my website down below because who's going to be able to spell Mike Guarneri other than me? So on with the show. So today's Celtic practice is the Celtic practice of storytelling. I want to introduce you to being a bardic storyteller. And you might be saying, oh, that's nothing. Anyone can tell a story. No, not anyone can tell a story. People can spit out a story, relay a story, but that's not telling a story. Telling a story is where the listeners are mesmerized, can't wait for your next word, forget everything going on around them. That's a storyteller. And the Celtic tradition of storytelling is an ancient practice used for centuries as a mean to pass knowledge, wisdom, and cultural traditions. Now, remember, the Celtic society was an oral society. So, once again, Even their culture and their wisdom and their stories, they had to be passed down by word of mouth. So a good telling of this information makes it easier to remember. So before I give you a little framework for becoming a bardic storyteller, I want to list some of the benefits. And I'm going to read it off my note cards because there's a lot of benefits. At least in my mind, there are. So here they go. You can gain a greater sense of connection and meaning in your life. And that might sound overly broad, so let's get more into specifics. By sharing and listening to stories, you can explore a sense of community and belonging. I'm sorry, did I say explore? No, I can't even read my own writing. I'm not a doctor, but I am a lefty. I've been cursed. You think I could at least, throw a ball, throw a good curveball or something? Nah, I just have the curse of poor handwriting. So let's back up to that beginning of that benefit. By sharing and listening to stories, you can experience a sense of community and belonging, which can help feelings of loneliness. That's a good one, right? Stories can provide a sense of inspiration and motivation, helping you to see your own experiences in a new light and find new ways to approach your challenges. That's a really good one. Who among us suffering from anxiety and depression couldn't use a little inspiration now and then, right? It's huge and motivation, something to light our fire a little bit. And yeah, because when you tell stories, you have to learn them first and everything, which I'll get to later. And that process helps you look at yourself in a different way, helps you better put yourself in other people's shoes. It's just fantastic. You will learn and it will help you. Storytelling can help cultivate empathy and compassion, both towards yourself and others. Well, that's kind of what I was just getting at with my little description. So let's go on to the next one. Another benefit, by exploring the experiences and emotions of different characters and situations through storytelling, you can develop a greater sense of understanding and compassion towards others. Kind of walk a mile in someone else's shoes. You know, maybe you'll understand them better and where they're coming from. I had this situation. I'm not gonna say it was online. I'm not gonna say where and who or what or anything. So I was talking to this person online who was kind of spiraling down a rabbit hole of anxiety because someone said something to her that triggered her. Once again, I'm not going to say what it was or what it is. And on the face of it, that person was being really mean, uncalled for mean. But when I told her to look at it from that person's perspective, in reality, they're just an idiot. That person had good intentions and was trying to help her. It just came out wrong. So I told this person, instead of being triggered, put yourself in the other person's shoes. And what was their motivations? This person didn't have to say anything to you, but instead went out of their way to say something to you to help you. It just came out wrong because the person was a moron, but they meant well. But when you're riddled with anxiety and self doubt, if someone says something that triggers you, you just go down that spiral hole. So if you stop and take a breath and try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and what they were saying and what they were really trying to do, it might relieve some of that anxiety and say, okay, I get it. The person was trying to help, they just did it in the wrong way or said the wrong thing doing it. Will it bring your anxiety level back to zero? No, but it can help. It definitely doesn't hurt. Look, there still are complete jackasses in the world who do it to hurt you. But when you put yourself in their shoes and look at their motivations and why they might have done it, you'll know if they're really the jackass or if they were trying to help or trying to do something else that wasn't meant to hurt you. Okay, here's another one. You can gain an insight into your own experiences and emotions, helping you to develop greater self-awareness and self-compassion. Now, this is huge. How many times have I said over the course of this podcast, you got to know yourself. You got to know yourself. And that's a spiritual journey. You have to build that solid foundation. Any techniques or practices or whatever to help your mental health, it's all going to be on shaky ground. It could topple over. You got to build that strong foundation. And part of that is knowing yourself on a real level, on a spiritual level, not on a topical level. Okay. Another benefit, by exploring different themes and messages through storytelling, you can gain insight into your own values, beliefs, and goals. And that's very true. A lot of us think we know our values. We think we know what's important to us. We think we know what we believe, and we think we know what our goals are. But you know what? We could be completely wrong. Or the things could be incremental. Maybe you've met some of those things, but now you have new ones and they're different and you don't know what to make of them. I can't tell you how many times since I started studying and researching and reading and using my sophisticated knowledge development system that I've changed my perspective on things. My philosophy, enhanced my values, modified my beliefs. I'm more open-minded, think differently about certain things now than I ever would have thought possible 5 years ago. It's freeing and it's enlightening. And goals? Well, my goal always was to have a great wife, a great family, live in a nice house, have a good enough job that I could support my family so they can live somewhat comfortably. Okay, that was my goal. And it was a fine goal. And I feel like I've completed it as I am now unemployed from quitting a couple of years ago. But I have a new goal. I realized I need to find the more in life. I need to reduce my anxiety and depression. Knowing and understanding will help me. Using ancient natural ways will help me. It'll all snowball. I'm becoming more peaceful every day, more peace of mind every day. And I want that for you too. And I can help you get that. Lastly, you can use storytelling as a means of expressing your own thoughts and emotions, helping you to better understand yourself and your experiences. So when you deliver your story, it's like voice acting in a way. It's you're telling a story, but your how you say it is your interpretation of it. What it means to you is how you're going to say it. So it's very expressive. And you can say, "Well, why did I do it this way?" And that's a clue to help you help understanding yourself. So, does this all sound good to you? These benefits of being a bardic storyteller? Yeah, they do to me too. But the bad news is it's not as easy as it sounds. You can't just go tell stories, like I said in the beginning. It takes practice. So, to help you out, I want to give you some steps, a framework to get started. If you're so interested, which I hope you are, it's fun. So, the first thing is you need to read stories, not books, not novels, stories, whatever, 10 to 15 pages. Myths are great for this. So read stories. And if you want to do it in the actual bardic tradition, read Celtic mythology. There's X many cycles, there's tons of stories. You won't get bored. And there's compilation books you can buy of them, and you'll enjoy them. After you read those stories, whether it's a story or a myth, I want you to pick one that resonates with you, that is meaningful to you. You might have to read a bunch of stories to find that one, but find it. Find that story that you'd be happy to spend some time with. Okay? Now, once you have that story, step 3, I want you to learn that story or myth inside and out. Bond with it. Become one with the story. I say that jokingly, but I'm serious. That story, the more you get close to that story, it will have more and more meaning to you. There'll be meaning between the lines of the story. And those meanings will be just for you. And it will guide your interpretation of the story when you present it. And it will guide you inward as to who you are. And you can utilize a practice I taught you and talked about, I don't know how many days ago it was, the Celtic practice of learning by heart. Once again, don't just memorize your story, learn it by heart. Go through those steps that I gave you for Celtic learning by heart. That's how you're going to bond with your story. Once you learn your story or myth and it's part of you, then you need to practice telling it. Practice your delivery. Read it out loud. Pretend you have an audience, even if you don't. Put some stuffed animals in front of you and pretend you're telling it to the stuffed animals. Whatever it is, you have to practice. Just saying it to yourself in your head is not practice. Say it out loud and say it proud. So, once you're comfortable telling your story or myth, then it's time to go prime time. You don't have to start with strangers or anything at first. Tell it to your friends and family. Ask for critiques. Hell, even before you present it to them if you want, videotape shows how old I am. Record yourself delivering the story. That way, you can watch it back and critique yourself and say, "I want to fix this next time." Or like me, I said too much. So, go ahead and do that first if it makes you feel more secure in telling the story. And then practice it with family and friends. And if you did it right, they'll be hanging on your every word. They'll be disappointed when it's over. They're going to want more, more, more. Well, it's a good thing about your next step, because the next step is go back to step one. Read some stories, find one that resonates with you, and go through the process again. Build up a repertoire, a portfolio of stories you can tell. Someday, like the ancient Celtic bards, you'll be able to sit around your coffee table or your living room or whatever and tell stories for the evening. Have everybody mesmerized. Have a special evening. It could be fantastic. And remember, the more you practice your story or myth, delivering it, the more it'll become part of you. And one other thing I want to mention to help you out is a man named Matthew Dick, I'm sorry. I don't think there's an S. Um, and he is a storyteller. He is still or was an elementary school teacher, but his ability to tell stories, it was just insane. And he broke it down into its components, almost like a formula. And he's one of the top storytellers in competitions and things like that. And you can probably find YouTube videos of him, but I highly, highly recommend his book, Storyworthy. Not only does it give great information about storytelling, he goes over the steps. He tells stories himself to illustrate them. He explains to you where he went wrong so you don't make the same mistakes. It's really a great read, especially if you want to learn how to tell stories. So I'll have the link for that book in the description below. Well, that's all I have for you today. Once again, just a reminder to head over to MikeGuarneri.com and sign up for my email list. I'm telling you, there's good things coming down the pike. I don't lie. I tease like I am now, but I do not lie. So make sure you're on that mailing list. And if you already are, Thank you very much. So until tomorrow, stay well.